Mira, welcome to the Morph 29 channel. It's been myself and I, Morph 29. And we are back. We're back, back like we never left. Today is another day, another review. And the show that we're reviewing today is one of my favorite shows of all time because it's with this show and the time when it came about, it was the moment where I realized that I like series more than movies because I just like the continuity of it because it just keeps going until it eventually ends. So it's on for a longer period of time because a movie is a one time thing, mostly at most 2 hours, 2 hours, 30 minutes if you're lucky. But with a series, you can watch it over a period of a month or more, stuff like that. So, without further ado, the series that we're reviewing today is called Lucifer. Yes, that one. Lucifer is an interesting one because, hey, it if you believe in God like me, and hey, it challenges you to a certain extent, but you have to think about it and say, no, this is not the actual thing. This is what it was written to be. Because the devil doesn't behave like Lucifer Morningstar, the the one in the series. The devil's devil is a bad guy. Lucifer is something else. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. What if the devil got bored of hell, moved to LA, opened a nightclub, and somehow ends up consulting on cases for the LAPD with a very beautiful detective, I might say. This is the entire premise of the show Lucifer, and somehow it worked, and it went on for, can I say, 6 seasons, because the last two were two parts. It was 5A, 5B, 6B, 6B, and all that, but we're not there. So it went on for 6 seasons, survived two cancellations. So it seems like the people were on it. The people were enjoying this thing. Lucifer is an American urban fantasy TV series developed by Tom Capinos. The show started airing on the 25th of January 2016 and concluded on the 10th of September 2021. The first 3 seasons aired on Fox, and the final 3 seasons aired on Netflix. It had 93 episodes across the 6 seasons. Oh, the S's are hectic on this one. But the series is based on a comic book character originally created by Neil Gaiman as part of his Sandman series in 1989. The standalone 75-issue comic series was later then written by Mike Carey. The TV series was then picked up, which means it was selected to be a series on the 9th of May 2015, which is before production began. The vibes. And it is one of, if not the only show to come back from cancellation, and it became dramatically better than it was before. Lucifer was bored and unhappy in his duties as the Lord of Hell. So he decided that he will leave his throne to go open a nightclub in LA. And he eventually formed a partnership with the LAPD homicide detective, Chloe Decker. The show is driven by Lucifer's supernatural ability to compel people to reveal their deepest and darkest desires. But somehow it does not work on the detective, which leads to one of Lucifer's first ever genuine human connection, because he had to work a little bit harder to know what the detective was really thinking in the moment. So from that point, we started to ask the question, can the devil really change? Or when is the devil capable of change? Is the worst person in your life capable of change? That is the central question around Lucifer. But during the early days on Fox, the show was more like an urban fantasy procedural drama with the mythology, the angels, devil, all of that stuff was kind of bubbling underneath. They did not put it out in the open like that. And then when it went to Netflix, it cracked open, if I might say. The mythology came out and started being the main focus of the show, which led to more people wanting to watch the show because it it always felt like they're hiding the mythology aspect because they don't want to offend people. But then Netflix is Netflix. They don't care. They will offend you, but it will be good. You know, that's why we love Netflix. Then with every season, the mythology deepens, digging into the angels, the demons, God, Silver City, which is heaven, is the name they call it in the series to kind of avoid saying heaven, heaven, heaven every 2 minutes. They call it the Silver City. Nature of punishment and free will, and what it means to choose who you are in the world. Can you really choose who you are in the world, or are you what you've always been meant to be? But that's what we get into with the series. Tom Ellis as Lucifer Morningstar, he carries the show from the very first minute to the very last minute. Tom plays Lucifer with a combination of an irresistible charm and genuine vulnerability and physical comedy, making him making him the most watchable excuse making him one of the most watchable leads in all of television and streaming and all that. The show took Tom from being a modest British actor and made him a global superstar, and people became more aware of his work and what he had done before and what he did after being Lucifer. And then his co-star, the leading lady in the show, is Chloe Decker, played by Lauren German. She grounds the show and prevents it from floating into fantasy, and she becomes the emotional backbone of the show because Lucifer tries not to be emotional most of the time. So it's more like comedic deadpan situation that happens with him. So Chloe is there to be his emotional side, and sometimes he has to convey his emotions to the people in the show. She's the emotional translator for Lucifer in the show, and she's and she also becomes the more important part in the other side of their relationship, being Decastar, which was the name of the relationship. Deca, Morningstar, Decastar, yeah, all that Hollywood shit. Yeah, so he, not he, she becomes important because Lucifer was pushing to pursue this relationship, and she kind of went in, pulled away, went in, pulled away, and it became sort of a slow burner that eventually burst out, and everyone loved to see it. You know, yeah. Then we have DB Woodside, who plays Amenadiel. Amenadiel is Lucifer's angel brother who is torn between the demands of his role as an angel of the Silver City and his growing love for Earth, because he was sent to come and retrieve this man and take him back to hell. But then when he became aware of the relationships that Lucifer has formed with the people on earth, he also eventually formed relationships with people on the earth. So he didn't want to go back at the end. Not to say didn't, but he wanted to stay more than he wanted to go back. So he was torn between those two parts of the show. Then we have Leslie Ann Brandt, South African, by the way. Shout out to her. She plays Mazaki, who is Maze. She is Lucifer's demon companion that he brought from hell to accompany him to the human world. And she is sort of his oldest ally in the thing. And she has the she has the most probably most complex, probably the most complex arc in all of the characters, because she goes from being this loyal servant, this loyal demon, to someone seeking to have a life of her own, and not only the life devoted to serving the master, which is Lucifer. You want? Yeah. Another character is Rachel Harris, who is Dr. Linda Morton. She is Lucifer's therapist. You're the asses are killing me. She is Lucifer's therapist who continues doing her job even after learning that she is actually a therapist to the actual devil, but she continued to work with him. And she brings a warmth to the show and a sharp comedic timing that makes her integral in the plot of the show, because there are moments in the show where it gets too serious and she pops up, and even and just like that the plot or whatever's happening becomes like a little bit funnier when she's there. Then we have Amy Garcia. Amy is Ella Lopez. She joins the cast as a forensic scientist in the second season. She is a very faithful woman who believes in God. She's a Christian, I think, a Catholic even, I'm not sure. But she was always wearing a cross and all that. But she has no idea that she is surrounded by the actual devil, angels, demons, and she actually influences their choices in the lives they lead. So shout out to Ella. Shout out to Ella. Then now we have Trisha Helfer. She is Charlotte. She plays two characters, being Charlotte Richards and the goddess of all creations, being the mother of the angels and Lucifer. No one. She starts off as this human who is Charlotte. She was a lawyer, I think. And then she dies. When she dies, her body is taken over by the goddess of all creations. And there is a very huge distinction between these two characters, and she handled it with ease. So she deserves an honorary mention in the shenanigans. Shout out to Trisha. So, what we're going to talk about next is the themes and the deeper meanings of the themes. We're going to talk about free will versus destiny, which is the central philosophy of the show. And during its entire run, it shows it's there in the whole thing, because the reason why Lucifer moved from being the king of hell to LA is because he resented that he was defined but by what his father made him to be, which is being the embodiment of evil and the punisher of the wicked and all that. So he spends the whole show trying to assert or make it come across that he is not his role. He, in fact, is his own person and all that. And that, and he argues that people are what they choose to be and not what they are made to be. Oh, and then the second theme is that the devil is not the devil. When you say the devil is not the devil, They are trying to reframe the devil from being the devil to be the devil. Oh, well, if you don't get it, forget about it. So this reframe from the show is the most radical and controversial thing that they did in the show, because they were trying to say that the devil does not make you do bad things, which he does, but instead he punishes those who are already evil. So he, so the devil is to be positioned to be uh, a just and honest character, and they position him to be more accountable and honest than most of the good angels and humans around him. Because another trait that they gave Lucifer in the show, that he cannot lie. He is incapable of lying. So he would always tell you the truth. That's what they did in the show, which honestly rehabilitated the devil's image in in the conversations, or when it triggered some conversations. Oh, then another theme is guilt as self-punishment. In the Lucifer universe, you go to hell because of your own guilt, not because God or someone sent you there. The punishments that you enjoy while you are in hell, is your conscience telling you that you deserve to be punished. So all you have to do to be free from hell in this show is to say that I don't deserve it. All my consequences, all my action, all my actions were valid in the life that I led. So another theme is therapy and self-awareness. Throughout the show, we get to see Lucifer having therapy sessions with Dr. Linda every time there's a major development in his life, or every time he discovers something that he didn't know before, or something that he thought he knew changed. Anything that changes in his life, there was a therapy session for that, which was mostly for comedic effect, because imagine the devil in therapy. What? So during those, we got to see him grow and become more aware of his own feelings, of how, how he feels about certain things. Yeah. And then the last theme we're going to talk about is inherited identity. You see, most of the major characters in the show are defined by their relationship with their parent. Almost all of the parents of the characters were there for an episode or two. One, because even God was there. Spoiler alert. So Lucifer is trying to escape his father's definition of him. His brother Amenadiel is defined uh, in the show as God's favorite son, which is not all good for him, because he had to live up to being God's favorite son. And then Maze went on a journey to try and find out why her mother left her and her siblings in hell with the literal devil. So everyone and anyone was trying to try and solve their relationship with their parents and all that. The character of Lucifer Morningstar was originally written by Neil Gaiman as part of his Sandman series in 1989. Mike Carey wrote a standalone Lucifer comic series with 75 issues from 2006 from 2000 to 2006. Then Tom Capinos developed the TV adaptation, which was produced by Bruckheimer, Jerry Bruckheimer Television and DC Entertainment. The first two seasons of the show were filmed in Vancouver. Then from season 3 to the last season, production moved to LA, which is the actual setting of the series. Without the restrictions of network television, the show, when it moved to Netflix, could then push the envelope on the visuals, the action, the emotionally intense moments, and expand more on the side characters like Maze Aminadil and Dr. Linda to give them also their own arcs in the story, which was very good, which I might add, and tying their arcs to the central theme of the whole show. When the show was cancelled by Fox after season three, there was a hashtag Save Lucifer, trended number one on Twitter and was shared by the fans, the cast, and the crew, leading to another hashtag Pick Up Lucifer, which pushed Netflix to pick up the show, which happened within weeks of the cancellation. And another thing, season five was meant to be the final season of the show, but the fans campaigned again, forcing Netflix to create a more defined ending, a definite final ending to the story, which was announced on the 23rd of June in 2020, a day after season 5 part 2 was announced. So the ending in season 6 was initially planned to be the ending for season 5, but then the the last season uh, expanded more on the story, and it worked out. The show survived two cancellations, and at both instances, it worked out for the better. I mean, we'll never know what it would have been like if the show was just cancelled like that. And then in season 5, Tom Ellis had to play Lucifer and a twin brother of the devil, who was an archangel. And the two brothers had completely different physicality, voices, and emotional register. So it was pretty amazing. It was a pretty amazing performance by Tom playing Lucifer and Michael in the fifth season to, I think, the final season, if I'm not so we got to see his range as an actor. Season 1 got a 49% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, being dismissed as a lightweight by critics. And the audiences, on the other hand, gave the first season a 77% rating, 77% user rating, which could be interpreted as the audiences seeing uh, the audience is seeing the potential of what the show could be, and them seeing what the critics were not seeing. Because in the second season, the critics gave the show 100% rating in Rotten Tomatoes, which means they now got to see what the fans were seeing in the first season. And it tells you that critics are not always right. So critically acclaimed is not a thing. It is a thing, but it's not a thing at the same time. Critically acclaimed shouldn't be what defines a production. Let's say that. It is a factor, but it's not all that. And then the show overall has a rating of 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, with a user score of 73%. The Netflix takeover introduced the show to the more fringe territories who could not access it, who could not access the show on network television, leading to an overwhelming fan reception for the cast. One. So they were getting recognized in those countries who would not have access to Fox, like South Africa. I don't think we had access to Fox at the time. Did we? It was on DSTV, but hey, I'm not sure. Anyway, the hashtag Save Lucifer campaign will go down in the history books as one of the bigger moments in the streaming era, which saved a production that proved to be worth saving. And then folks will go down in history as the biggest fumblers. They are the biggest losers because they were trying to cancel a show had that could give you, and it gave three more seasons, and they canceled it in the first three seasons, but they will not see the vision. But hey, Hades, folks, Hades, dog. Tom Ellis became the show and perfectly executed this character. The Dagger relationship was well built from beginning to end and the middle. The Netflix upgrade gave the crew creative freedom to explore more of the supporting characters and give them chunks of airtime for their own stories. When they gave Maze that arc where she was trying to discover her own soul to see if she could be her own person instead of being Lucifer's team friend. That was a good part of the story. The finale was a very good way to close the show. It left no stone unturned in terms of the storylines, whether you're not happy or happy with what happened in the end. Either way, they rounded everything up. They didn't leave anything to chance. And the way the show treated the whole heaven, hell, free will, and guilt conversation, it was an interesting take on for a show that was originally on network television, because we don't have a lot of these shows. We do have shows who are shows that and movies that dig into the Greek mythology side of things, but on the heaven, hell, God side of conversation, I don't want to say Christianity because hey, it's shaky. But on that side of things, we don't have many shows that dig more into those conversations. And then let's talk about our didn't look for the show. In the first season, the show had a more like villain of the episode kind of thing. They didn't have a continuous villain. Corey, they worked on a more case by case basis, which didn't quite feel alright. It didn't feel like the story was progressing anyway. It felt more like a Chicago PD, FBI kind of vibes, and the show was not that. Yeah, but season 3 had 26 episodes, which is Fox's longest series order, I think, to date and in history. So it felt long. It really did. It felt like there was no end to it. Yeah, the story was more dragged out in that season, which makes sense because I think they were trying to buy time to see if they could reorder the show for another season or they're canceling it. Yeah, when shows are about to be cancelled, funny things start to happen in that thing. But yeah. And then there's a character in the show called Dan. Go watch the show. You'll know more about Dan. But when the character had to leave the show when his story was concluded, it felt more like a budget cut situation or a contractual dispute situation. It didn't feel like they wrote that end for that character. It felt like they wrote it for the sake of no, the character, no, the actor is not with the show anymore. You get it? Yeah. And then as the show went on, they kind of neglected the procedural side of the show, being the criminal cases and all that. It felt more like, oh, we have to do that, while they were focusing on the mythology element. They ignored the procedural element, and it was not serviced as much as the mythology element of the show. is now has been how many years? 10 years. Is it 10? No, has been 5 years since the end of Lucifer, and there have not been any talks of the season 7 or a reboot of the series. Um, Tom Ellis has went on to work on productions like Tell Me Lies, The Thursday Murder Club, and he's also secured a lead on a new Dead Wolf series, which is a spin-off from the FBI franchise, being CIA. He's very good on that one. If you like that type of show, check it out. And then, you know, the hashtag Save Lucifer campaign has left a blueprint for other fans to use in when they are trying to save their favorite shows from being cancelled by these production companies and channels and all that, and streaming companies and all those things. So now fans know what to do when you're trying to battle the cancellation of your favorite show. So this show is for fans of shows like Castle, The Good Place, Supernatural, um, people who like to binge on who like a young binge for a show, and not a young binge, people who like a long binge because it is a very long binge. It's over 2 weekends kind of binge. But what? So people who like to sit down for a long period of time to watch the show and get that rewarding feeling when the story comes to an end. You should check it out. And then people who believe in redemption, because um we can safely say that in the show, what is it? Keywords in the show, the devil redeems himself in the eyes of the people and everyone. So there is redemption for the devil in the show. Yes. And the people who will not enjoy the show is obviously people who are uncomfortable with the their religion or what they believe in being painted in what it was painted like on the show. If you don't like that, hey, there's gonna be a hard watch, so you should just stay away. And this show is one of the very few shows in the modern era which have a high rewatch value. So you wouldn't mind rewatching it if you're a normal person. But if you're a person like me, rewatching is difficult. You know, give it about 10 years, then watch it again. You see, for most shows, then there are shows that are timeless. And you watch it, you watch it, you can watch it for 12 months straight. But we're not there. We're not there. We're not there. Show. When you're rating the show, the story and writing, 8.5 out of 10. Characters and acting, 9 out of 10. Visuals and tech, 8 out of 10. Sound and atmosphere, 7.5 out of 10. Enjoyment and rewatchability, 9 out of 10. With an overall of 8.4 out of 10. Or what? Okay. So yeah, we've come to the end of this. Is it a show? I don't know. We've come to the end of the video. And or we come to the end of the video, the show, whatever you want to call it. But either way, we are at the end. And tell us in the comments if you think that Fox was holding back the series, because it seems like once they let it go and Netflix picked it up, it flourished and it became this blooming flower type of situation. So, and did are we crediting the fans of the show for them saving it? Because I would think that if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have uh we wouldn't have what we have in the show Lucifer, because the end of season 3 was just ambiguous and it didn't feel like an end. So um, thank you to the fans for saving this masterpiece and allowing it to become what it became. And yeah, man, like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time. Don't know when, but next time. Thank you.